I'm Mimzi, and I'm here with.
Melly?
And we are going to be doing Am I the Asshole today? So, Melly, take it away.
All right. The first story we have today is Am I the asshole for canceling Mother's Day celebration that I arranged for my wife after hearing what she told my son? I am 37, have a 13-year-old son. I was a widower when I met my now wife. She has a 16-year-old daughter from another relationship. The family is often on pretty good terms. My son is the quiet one in the house. He keeps to himself a lot, but not to the point of being concerning. My wife and stepdaughter are the complete opposite. They both encourage him to be outgoing and share activities and join gatherings with extended family. My son complained about having to be forced out of his comfort zone and having his need for space invalidated. I spoke to both my wife and stepdaughter and asked them to give him space and freedom to spend his time however he wanted. They apologized and promised to let him be. As Mother's Day was approaching, I wanted to throw my wife a surprise Mother's Day celebration. It was no longer a surprise because my stepdaughter gave her the heads so she could prepare. Yesterday, I got off work earlier than usual to get final arrangements done. We planned to celebrate at the restaurant and invited her family there. I had the key, and while I was entering the house through the front door, I overheard my wife and stepdaughter talking to my son. My wife was asking my son if he could convince me to let him stay home and not go with them to the restaurant to celebrate. I paused and decided to keep listening. My son said why, and she told him that his introverted and socially inept quote unquote attitude will make her family uncomfortable and will ruin the mood. He promised her that he'd be well behaved and would try to interact and socialize with everyone, but she said she wasn't buying it. He kept reassuring her, but she snapped and told him that technically she's not his mom, so she didn't get why he wanted to celebrate Mother's Day with her so badly. My stepdaughter threw some, I don't remember, backhanded comment, and then both of them were shocked to see me standing there. Both were staring without saying anything. I told my son and his stepsister to go to their rooms, then told my wife that the celebration was off, canceled. She tried to argue, asking why repeatedly, and I told her why. She tried to explain that she didn't mean it like that, I and that I only heard a part of the conversation, but not all of it. I told her that I was done arguing and the decision was already made. She yelled, asking what she was going to tell her family, um, and said that I was making a tremendous mistake towards her. I ignored her while she kept throwing tantrum after tantrum. Early this morning, she took my stepdaughter and went to stay with her folks. Not a single call or text from her so far. The situation is full of tension. I'm upset still, but more hurt to be honest. I mean, yes, I did say I was going to have this celebration, but I thought what she said to my son was too harsh to ignore.
First of all, just because you're introverted doesn't make you socially inept. It just means
No.
that your social battery might drain a little bit faster, but if you're quiet, let them be quiet.
Yet
That's
not everybody has to fucking talk.
right. And I don't know, to kind of corner a kid and like
Mm-hmm.
start attacking them and just be like, you're not invited because you're quiet. I don't know. I would say she's not the asshole because he's 13 years old. I mean, he's being bullied by
Literally.
two older women.
It's not even being bullied at that point. It's abuse. Like,
Yeah. And I think it's perfectly valid. I think that it's good for her. She's standing up for her son and she's like respecting, his
no,
boundaries.
it's the father.
Or father, sorry.
Yeah.
He is respecting his son's boundaries and understanding the limitations. That's not he doesn't the son doesn't like to come out of his comfort zone, but the father's respecting his space and giving him a voice. So like I think the wife is the asshole.
Oh yeah, the wife and the stepdaughter sound like the assholes to me. Even while I was reading, like I already made up my mind of like not the asshole because like first of all, so I come from a blended family, and I know my mom would not have that. My mom is obviously very my mom's very like extroverted, and I'm more introverted. So there's oftentimes like I don't want to go to places, but like I couldn't ever imagine being told to not go somewhere because of how I act. Like I can't even fathom that.
Well, it's one thing if a child is being the opposite of what he is. If the child is being like and has old enough, 13 years old, you're old enough to be, at least semi self-aware. And if you
Yeah.
intentionally go out of your way to disrupt the peace and, have celebrations be, focused on you. I mean, honestly, that probably means that the kid needs more attention in the first place, but regardless, positive attention, mind you.
Yeah.
But if you're just a quiet person and you don't like going out and being in spaces with others, I understand that. I'm an extrovert myself, and like, how old is this post?
Um 2 months old.
Okay, COVID happened. It's okay not to want to be in public spaces with people.
Yeah.
And the fact that the husband, the original poster, like planned everything around the wife, and then the wife went ahead and like ruined it,
Mm.
is her own damn fault.
Yeah, that's her own damn fault.
You know,
That
it's the husband's like prerogative to say, you know what, I don't think we're gonna go through with these plans because I don't want to celebrate you when you're not being a good stepmom.
you're not even being a good mother. Like
To her own
there
kid,
shouldn't.
it's setting a bad example.
Yeah, like if you felt so comfortable to tell your stepchild, regardless if they're your stepchild or not, like you felt so comfortable in saying I'm not your real mom, then
Ooh.
I don't even know why you're in the family to begin with. Because I can tell you right now, I very briefly I thought about that about my dad. Obviously when everything like first
Makes
was,
me mad. Yeah.
I know. Like when everything, when we first moved in and whatnot. But like I couldn't even imagine not like as a child in that situation. Like he's 13. You don't tell a 13-year-old that. Their minds are still developing, and it probably took him a while to even like want to like genuinely do anything with them and view her as his mom, you
Plus,
know?
again, he's aware. He's like, I'm gonna be on my best behavior, and I want to celebrate with you. Like, he wanted to do that, and she's just like, I don't know why, because I'm not even your real mom. What the hell? Who gives you the
Divorce.
right?
Divorce.
Absolutely red. There should have been red flags before this conversation.
Yeah. Divorce.
Because does it say anywhere
No.
how long they were married?
Not really.
Right. So it's a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old and a stepmom. And just
But
let the kid have his space. Like, geez.
and it's even harder because I see so many similarities with how my family is and the beginning of this post because he says he was a widower and my
Yeah.
dad was a widower. Like I couldn't even imagine that happening in our family. Like you're telling he lost his mom. His
Yeah.
mom is dead.
Yeah.
His mom is dead.
And he's
like
old enough to know it, and he just wants to celebrate. He was excited to do this, and it just breaks my heart that this woman has the audacity to like
say I'm not your mom.
he's
Fuck
like,
you.
I don't even understand like why you've got a bad attitude, I don't want you around. Like, that's just mean. That's mean.
Not
It's
even
abusive.
saying he has a bad attitude. It's more like you're too socially inept attitude. Like saying that he's gonna make things awkward just because he's minding his own business.
Honestly, I really like awkward people. So, like, I don't get it. I don't get how people could just, like, treat a kid like that. That's wrong. That's fucked up. I'm not
It's
happy with
fucked up.
this one. It makes me mad.
Makes it, yeah. I was reading it and I was no, fuck this. But yeah, the wife's the asshole. Um, Dad's not the asshole. I'm very proud that the dad had his son's back though. That made me happy because sometimes um couples like to prioritize their marriages before their children's
Children.
well-being.
And I
But
honestly think that, like,
yeah.
this has probably happened before. And
Oh
he
yeah,
just
if she
found out
felt
about
that
it.
comfortable,
Yeah.
if she felt that comfortable saying shit like that,
And teaching her
who knows
daughter
what
it's
else?
okay to say shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I mean, to for the sake of, for argument's sake, yeah, you could say it's Mother's Day and you could be an asshole for canceling something on Mother's Day, But does this mother
But
deserve to
that's
be
surface level.
celebrated? Right.
Exactly.
Does
Like,
she? Mm-mm.
no, and I guarantee you, like, people on the outside are like, oh, well, it's Mother's Day, yada yada yada. No. Like, some some moms are shit
Plus,
and they don't deserve to be celebrated.
if
Period.
the
End of story.
if the if the OP didn't, like, say something or do something, his son might grow to resent him. Like,
Resent him for having her as a wife, for having her
yeah,
as a mother figure. Yeah.
yeah, for, like, not help, like, granted, since he's introverted, or since he's, like, a little bit more to himself, he's less likely to maybe, like, talk about these things. So it was
Hmm.
really lucky that the OP came across it when it happened, but at the same time, it's like, you truly don't know who you married, man.
Yeah, you really don't know. But I'm impulsive as hell, and if I heard that, I would have served divorce papers the next day, and I would have said, "Get the
Immediately.
fuck up at my house. Get
Yep.
the fuck up at my house.
Take your kids,
You're
go,
not
bye.
gonna, yeah, you're not gonna talk to my son that way. Get the fuck up out of here."
Agreed. Agreed.
All right,
Uh, do we have another one?
we do. I sent four today.
Woohoo! Okay. We'll jump into this next one. We'll see if we have any different takes.
Okay.
I'm also going to stop
Am
streaming in Discord. So far.
okay.
There we go.
Okay. Am I the asshole for dropping I don't know if that meant out or off. I think that means off. So, am I the asshole for dropping off my daughter at my parents' house for a few days? Seems very surface level.
Mm-hmm.
I have three kids: Amelia, 12, Bastian and Colin, 7-month twins. Amelia's mom passed away when she was 2. 3 years after that, I married my now wife, Susie. She and I struggled to have kids the first years of our marriage. Luckily, now we have two baby boys that I love with all my heart. Amelia and Susie have an excellent relationship. She even calls her mom. For years, our only priority was Amelia. We gave her our undivided attention, and I believed we spoiled her a little bit more than we had. When Susie got pregnant, Amelia was really happy because she had been wanting to be an older sister for a while since all of her cousins are. She wanted a sister, of course, but was equally content with two boys. Around that time, Susie and I had a few problems. I felt she was casting my girl aside because we were now pregnant. She denied it, of course, until she did something that crossed the line by far. And she realized that she was playing favorites when the kids weren't even born. We attended therapy and included my kid. By surprise of no one, she also felt that mom was mad at her, but didn't know why. We're now doing better, and Susie has never acted like that again. Now, on to the problem. While our twins are overall healthy, 15 days ago, Bastian started to cry inconsolably out of nowhere. This caused Colin to cry too. We didn't understand what was happening, and we tried the normal ways for a day, and then next we took him to the doctor. Long story short, Bastian had something in his stomach, and he had to stay in the hospital for 2 days. During that time, I left Amelia with my parents, and I told her that I would be back soon. After 2 days, the doctor asked for 2 days more. Then they discharged him, and we took him home. We wanted to make sure everything was okay, so we decided to leave Amelia with my parents another day so we could monitor Bastian. Then my wife and I took another day to rest. My parents called me an hour ago, and my dad went straight to my neck. He called me a deadbeat, irresponsible, and useless father. He doesn't understand how I could, quote unquote, abandon Amelia for a week without visiting her. She said Amelia asked if I was mad or if she did something wrong. I tried my best to explain that Bastian wasn't feeling okay and that enraged him even more because, and I quote, not only I abandoned Amelia, I did it for my new family. He said that he said I have to make sure all of my kids are okay and not just my new babies. That Amy has been crying for a few days because I didn't even dare to call yesterday. I said I would go pick her up ASAP, and he told me I better be ready to explain everything to her because neither he or my mom will. My wife said we should go pick her up in the afternoon after the babies are awake so my family can see they're okay too. But I think that's not a good idea. And I should go alone, which caused her to be mad at me too and called me an asshole. Now everyone thinks I'm an asshole, so I wanted to ask here.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh,
there's a few edits. First
okay.
edit is I did call. I called her almost every day since I only missed the last one because I fell asleep for a big chunk. The calls were 30 to 45 minutes long, mostly during my lunch break at work so we could quote unquote eat together. I visited the first 2 days, but then was unable to since my job only gave me the first 2 days off to care for the twins. I also ate with her uh those those 2 days because it's her favorite time with us, and my visits were 1 hour long. Another edit is my daughter's home now. I already talked to her.
Okay. So, this is tough because in my experience, like it's not quite like this, but I have two younger siblings who are twins.
Yeah,
And
uh-huh.
um you know, every summer there would be a week where I was dropped off at my parents' house alone, or at my grandparents' house. I'd spend my grandparents were divorced, so I would spend a week with grandma, and then I would spend a week with my papa. And, and then maybe there was a week where my siblings would join me, or something of that nature. I don't think the OP is a an asshole for what was the original question?
For
Dropping off
dropping off the
off
daughter
the.
at the parents' house for a few
I
days.
I think the grandfather was out of line. Um, if he had been paying attention to his daughter or his granddaughter, he would know that the dad came by the first 2 days, that the one of the twins was having a medical emergency, and the work situation. Plus, the fact that he mentions at the end that he called every day and only didn't show for the last day because of work restrictions seems perfectly reasonable. And I don't understand why Amelia. She's probably. How old is she? She's like
12.
12. Okay, part of it's probably older sibling syndrome where she feels
Mm-hmm.
that, she needs to manipulate to get some attention. That
Especially if her younger siblings are 7-month twins.
exactly. Everybody's worried about the baby. What about me?
Yeah, what about me? What about me?
And my siblings are only 2 years younger than me, but she I can understand a 12-year old little girls are fucking evil.
They
Okay, number
are.
one.
They
Number one.
are.
Number one. Number
We both
two.
were 12-year-old girls. Like, yeah.
Exactly. Like you do some fucking heinous shit. And
Mhm.
like I was tired of my baby sister and baby brother, and I put them in a suitcase and I closed it and I said, "Take them back. I don't want them anymore." Okay, like looking back, that was I was over it. I didn't want them, but I love them now. We've grown up. We've grown close, and I think the dad is trying his best.
I think so too because I know twins in of themselves are a
A lot.
handful,
Yeah.
especially baby twins. Um
One for
I
each titty.
Um, I don't have any younger, like, blood or by marriage siblings. But I can only imagine. Um, because babies are a lot.
You
So
know, they keep you away. I mean, Susie's she should have thought about it as a vacation, to be honest. Now,
honestly,
or not Susie, Amelia. But the mom who was playing favorites, that was messed up, but it's also kind of
they
understandable
fixed it
too.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they went to therapy, they took their steps, and you know what? The mom, she's a first-time mom, I think. So,
like it
it's
because
kind
there's
of
no other
under
kids.
right, and it's kind of understandable. Like they were trying to conceive, they're having babies, it's very exciting, emotions and
It
hormones.
yeah.
I'm not saying that's an excuse to treat people badly, especially a 12-year-old little girl. But the 12-year-old little girl also doesn't understand, you know, what's going on with her mom.
Hmm.
So all she knows is there are babies and mom's mad at me and dad is not
They're
giving
not
me
giving
all
me
his attention.
Yep,
So
they're not giving me the
therefore,
same attention they both gave me
exactly.
before the babies. What did I do? What did I do?
Right.
Because
Or
that's your
it's
first
like,
instinct.
yeah, you want to you have to a lot of kids will blame themselves and then the mean ones start blaming other people. And I
Yeah.
think that's kind of what happened. It sounds like the daughter Amy, um, the fact that she'd been crying for a few days because the dad didn't call, I don't. It just seems like he might have written that and kind of messed it up. He maybe meant a few hours, but I do think Grandpa was
Maybe.
out of line. Grandpa shouldn't be. It's his dad, so
Yes.
not even in law. So it's like, sir, calling me a deadbeat for abandoning. You're helping me by watching my kid while my other kid has an emergency and has to go to the hospital and I have to work. I'm providing for my family and you're helping me watch my children. Do you not want to watch my children? Because what you're telling me is that, like, you're going to take a 12-year-old upset over a situation I have no control over and blame me for it. And I think
Yeah.
that's fucked up.
Yeah. I was with my
Although,
grandparents a lot when I was younger.
mm-hmm,
Because my parents at the time were separated.
mm-hmm,
Um, but like maybe it was just my mom, but like she always checked on me because I guess like it doesn't help that I was like her only child.
mm-hmm,
So I mean, I kind of can't understand, I can understand getting swept up in the moment, like you're in such a panic, like what's going on with the baby, especially after struggling so hard to conceive for years. And then
mm-hmm.
you finally get it, and now something's wrong. It's like, what the fuck? You're thrown into such a disarray. Um, but I guess I also can't see, like, even before going to the hospital to check, just dropping by and being like, hey, how are you? I'm sorry you have to be here for a little bit longer. Your brother's still in the hospital, but when it's safe, you know, um, maybe we can get you to go see him or we can bring him home soon. Just being a little patient, like just that little check in,
Right. I
not just
also
a phone call.
I also think it's kind of interesting that they didn't explain what was happening to
The
Amelia
baby.
or
Or,
yeah, to the daughter. They kind of just let's see. I left Amelia and be back soon. So like they didn't really explain what was going on. So I can
no.
understand how it would look to be like drop off your daughter and you've got a new family.
Yeah.
So I can understand how that would come off as being an asshole.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you don't take she's 12. She's not stupid. you still got to explain. If you say, you know, mommy and daddy are really worried about your brother and we're going to take him to the hospital, so you're going to stay with grandma and grandpa for a little bit
until we get him to get better.
Exactly. That is all you need to do.
That's all you need to do. And
the thing is I also kind of think the wife is a problem because I don't know. I understand it can be emotionally draining, but you know, only one of the twins was having a problem, right? Right.
Yeah, it was something in his stomach.
Okay, so I mean, if you could have kept one child with you, well, it could have been avoided if you just kept you could have kept your daughter with you because you were watching one baby that was fine.
Yeah.
So again, I think that from that perspective, that if I was the kid, I'd probably be mad because nobody explained it to me, and I feel like that's justified. I don't think that
yeah, it doesn't sound like he explained it at all. It was just, you're gonna stay with grandpa, grandma for a few days, and then a few days turned into a few more days, and then that few more days turned into a week. So I can see, I honestly can see why she's upset, especially when they had favoritism issues before. Her mind probably reverted right back to that.
And if you went to go see your daughter while she was staying with your grandparents and you talked to her for 30 to 45 minutes in the afternoon every single day, you could have taken that opportunity at any point to explain why you weren't there, why she wasn't with you. Because again, a 12-year-old is literally a preteen. They're not. It's
their
not like
hormones
she
are
wouldn't.
just kicking in.
And it's not like she wouldn't understand, because from what I can tell, she loves her family. You know, she calls her stepmom mom. You know, she's worried about making her mom mad. She wants to love her brothers. You know, but you kind of took that away from her by just not
excluding her,
not treating her like a human being. You treated her like someone who wouldn't understand even if you tried to explain it, so you didn't even bother. So I would say that if I were the kid in this situation, yes, you're the asshole.
Yeah, I think looking at it from the kid's perspective is important in this situation because yeah, I would definitely say he is the asshole. I can being being in my 20s, I can understand why, but if I were to put myself in Amelia's shoes, I don't understand.
Right.
Because it wasn't explained to me. It wasn't even like, and I know I can get very self-destructive. My depression started when I was 11, 12 years old. So I was around her age when my depression really started, and I got very self-destructive. So I would just break if this happened to me. Like if because I know my mom and dad were trying after a certain point, or like had thought about trying for another kid. I can't even imagine how I would feel if I was just dropped off somewhere, like with a relative, and I didn't hear from my mom or my dad for a week.
So
or I barely heard anything.
Have you ever been at school and like you're the last one to get picked up because your parents working late or they forgot to get you from like a practice or something? Yeah, so that's how I imagine it would feel, except extended periods of time.
Yeah.
So I
think overall you should have explained it. Like,
agreed.
That's what it should have been. You're the asshole for not explaining it to your daughter.
Yeah, I agree. You're the asshole for not explaining it to your father or your daughter. But, you know, in explaining it would have taken practically no time and effort. And
literally thought up an excuse in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, and I would say that, you know, at first I was like, it's not super assholey. But then I was like, well, actually,
Like, the more you think about it, the more you're like, yeah, you
yeah,
are the asshole.
you are. Yep, you're the asshole, dude. Get better.
Well, I hope everything is better. Like, I hope like his twins are okay and whatnot. And I hope
I hope
that
Susie wasn't traumatized.
poor Susie.
Poor Susie.
All
JK,
right.
poor Amy, Amelia. I keep fucking up their names.
Well, he did refer to her as Amy, so I don't blame you.
Okay. Oh
Homie
Lord.
didn't really know how to spell.
True that. True that.
Um. All right.
We've got a
So
third story, right? Did I lose you? No! Discord, don't do me dirty. Short intermission. Okay, are you with me?
yeah, I'm
Short
here.
short intermission. My Discord decided to crash.
Cute. I love that.
Me too. And I
Of
just have
course,
to.
on our first recording.
Yeah, obviously that's. And let me just see if I can get the Yeah. Okay. Your reactive image is back up. So.
Okay, cool.
Quick intermission, but we're up.
We're back online. All right. Good thing I didn't get too deep. This one's a bit shorter. So it's not too much, but I feel like there's still enough. Am I the asshole for blowing up on my husband after he told me why he didn't get me a Mother's Day gift? Obviously, I saved most of these around like May.
That's okay.
I lost my son at the age of 7 a few months ago due to illness. My husband is a stepdad. Grief is still pretty much raw for me. Well, yeah, it's a few months ago.
That's really sad.
But yeah, I make sure I don't bother others with my quote unquote burden. Although my husband has been saying that I've become lazy and neglectful towards home chores, work, etc., etc. He's partially right, but those who have been in my place know how hard it is just to get out of bed these days.
Okay,
This is my first mother's. Yeah.
I'm gonna interrupt real quick.
Okay.
A few
Fuck
months
the
ago.
stepdad.
A few months ago.
A few months ago.
That's like one or two.
I was
I don't
thinking
even
more
need to
like
know
2 or
anymore.
3.
Yeah, you are not
Yeah,
the
like 1 to 3.
asshole. He's the asshole. All right, continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I can tell from the first paragraph. I already know. Because the fact that he has the audacity to say the shit like you've become lazy after 1 to 3 months of a mother losing her
Losing her
7-year-old
son.
son.
Yeah. How dare
He's
he?
never been a father. Never been a father. And even if he was, like, to his own kids, like, spermed out, doesn't, no. Anyways.
No. Okay, continue. I'm gonna leave my angry face on.
Okay. This is my first Mother's Day without my son. The hurt is at highest. I went out for a walk and came home to find that a lot of family and close friends sent me gifts to cheer me up. Some gifts were like mementos, which really touched my heart. My husband came home an hour ago and excitedly showed him what everyone sent for me for Mother's Day. He made a face and said that was nice. I noticed that he didn't bring anything, but I asked just to make sure. Ugh. He
Oh
told
no.
me he intended to not bring a Mother's Day gift. I asked why, and he said didn't feel like I should hear it, but I insisted. I'm so sick to my stomach. He nonchalantly told me that it's because he thought I'm no longer a mother. I was baffled by his response. I blew up on him, but he told me he meant this quote unquote technically. I asked if he thought that I could no longer call myself a mother just because my son passed. He said no, but what he meant to say is that these circumstances are different and refused to expand on his argument because he knows he's wrong.
Yeah, he fucked up.
I started I started a big fight with him about it. And he went upstairs after saying that I was lashing out on him for no reason and that I should control my temper, and has been staying there so far. I don't know if I went too far here, but it seems like I did because he's so upset and refusing to come downstairs to speak to me. Am I the asshole? No, absolutely the fuck not. You lost your fucking son, and then this motherfucker, who's probably never sired a child in his life, heaven forbid if he ever does, came home on Mother's Day without a Mother's Day gift and told you it's because you're not a mom in his eyes after you just lost your son. Divorce. Divorce. I would have
Yeah.
told him to get the fuck up out my house. Get out of my house. Go to your parents' house. We're done. I
It's
would
not.
rather be alone. I would
Yeah.
rather be alone.
It's like
You just spat in my son's grave. Get the fuck up out my house.
you can't be an ex-mom.
No, that doesn't work.
You had a kid, and unfortunately, you no longer have a kid. That doesn't make you less of a mom.
Mm-hmm.
And on Mother's Day,
On Mother's Day.
he had the nads to really say, "Well, you're not a mother anymore, so why would I?" Excuse me? His life flashed before his eyes, so he ran away like a bitch.
Yeah,
And you know
and the
what?
fact that he didn't want to expand because he knows he's wrong. The minute she started lashing out on him, respectfully so and rightfully so,
Mm-hmm.
he turned tail between his legs, turned around, and threw a tantrum, and is now pouting about the fact that he's wrong and he should have just gotten her something.
Yeah. And
Like,
even
you have the gall to
yeah.
tell a grieving mother that she's slacking and making her feel more like shit. And there's ways to encourage positive reactions while addressing an issue.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know, maybe you could be like, hey, let's do some of these things together. Wow, who would have fucking thought it? But
You know,
no, you probably want to sit there, play your stupid fucking video games, and pout about how mean your wife is, and yada yada yada. Probably flirting with your little Roblox chef or some crazy shit like that. Get the fuck up out of here. Get the fuck up out of my house.
oh my
Like,
god.
I literally would have told him, get the fuck out. Like, you don't think I'm a mother anymore? I would have threw the ring in his fucking face. I'm not your wife anymore.
Does that mean you were never a husband?
Her.
Honestly. No, and I think that
You know what?
his
That means he was never a father.
exactly.
Don't
And
get
you
him
know what?
shit.
I don't understand the lack of compassion. The lack of like
Empathy.
yeah, being I mean, you knew this child as well. You were his stepdad.
For however long he was alive, you were still his stepdad. You knew him.
And the fact that OP believes that, you know, having this awful thing happen is a burden. And then
I hope she gets some help.
I
Like,
I
talks to
I really
somebody.
want her to be empowered and know that like the memory of her son deserves to be honored, and she can keep loving him as his mom who loved him for as long as she had him. And she doesn't need a man who has this awful negativity in her life, and he's just going to keep tearing her down. Not only is I mean, she's depressed. She lost her child, and he's calling her lazy and neglectful, and he basically wants her to act like nothing happened.
Yeah, because you know what it is? He never saw her son as his. That's
Yeah,
exactly what it is. Because
probably.
if he sired that son, it probably would be a different story.
I mean,
And
and he's just she's not an asshole.
no. Absolutely not.
The husband is wrong. The husband needs to go. Red flag. See you later. Bye. Do not
Yeah,
pass go. Do
definitely
not collect $200. Sign that prenup, girl. Make
go
sure that
straight
shit
to
is
jail.
exactly
Jail.
jail.
Electric chair. Anyways,
And the
I
fact
will
that
share.
some of her close sorry,
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
the fact that her close friends tried to make her feel better by like little mementos and some gifts to sort of, keep her spirits up, so to speak, and to just kind of brighten such a hard time. And he just couldn't fucking. He.
Even be bothered.
That was nice.
Yeah,
That was
that's
nice.
nice.
Are you gonna give me anything for Mother's Day? Oh, you're not a mom, so why would I? Excuse me? Who the fuck do you think you are?
I maybe it's just because I have been through. I was talking to my one of my friends, Brittany, about this yesterday when we hung out, and how like how much her and I have grown from our like past relationships and how shitty they were, and now that we're both in like an amazing relationship, um, it's amazing because if I was in my shitty relationship, I probably would lie down and take it. But because I'm in such a healthy relationship and I know
I'm vaping my
I
ghost.
know my
Sorry.
worth, yeah. Like if somebody were to tell me that right there and then,
Out.
you better hope nothing heavy is within arm's reach because I would have fucked somebody up. I would have fucked somebody up. I
Whew.
don't care if I knew homegirl. I don't need to know homegirl. You tell somebody that they're not technically a mother, you deserve to get your ass beat. You deserve to get your ass beat.
You do. Especially when you've lost your child.
I don't even need to know the circumstances. You tell if I overheard somebody telling somebody, "Oh, well, you're not technically a mom," ass beat. I would have beat somebody's ass.
But you're
But
not my
I'm
real mom. Teenaged angst. No, I'm
yeah.
just kidding. But no, like I agree. I don't think it's especially, and like, no offense to male listeners, but especially if it's from a man.
Yeah.
I'll fucking throw. I'll throw hands. Catch these hands. Catch these virtual hands. Bet.
Like I can't I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. Like, and the past two stories were more from like the dad's perspective of losing a wife or losing a mother and is left with the child. Like, could you imagine, those wives? Like, let's say the husband, you know, in the past two stories, let's say they lost their daughters too. And it was a Father's Day thing. Can you imagine those wives being like, "Oh, well, you're technically not a dad, so why would I do anything for you on Father's Day?"
There would be an uproar.
Yeah. What? I'm confused.
Yeah.
So,
It's not.
but
It's not
I
okay
do.
to be like, and that's kind of like emotionally abusive of this husband.
Oh, absolutely. From the very first paragraph, emotional abuse.
Yep.
I do want to share the top comment though, because
Oh,
it basically covers everything that we said.
sure.
Not the asshole. Your son will always be your son, which means you will always be a mother. There's no such thing as being an ex-mom. Your husband could turn into an ex-husband though, and maybe he should. And
Hallelujah. That's the best top.
yep,
That's the best top comment out there
yep. All
because
right.
that's true.
It is. It is. And I feel like that's a very good summarization of everything that we said. Um, in less words and less aggression because I know I'm very aggressive.
But
I'm impulsive and I'm aggressive.
we're loving you for it.
Yes. All right. Our last story is, am I the asshole for watching and not doing anything while my wife was being kicked out of my company?
Ooh, this is gonna be juicy.
Oh yeah, this is juicy. Hear me out. Just read the whole text. Okay, we're reading.
Oh,
So my wife, F26, and I, M33, have been married for 2 years. I admit that she is a hothead and can be a bit much, especially when she's mad at me. I take responsibility for any mistake I make, like not cleaning the bathroom after the shower or filling her car with gas after I use it, like not filling her car with gas. After using it, I even stand there and let her unload her anger and frustration on me, but only at home and not in public. She tends to start arguing with me in public instead of waiting till we get home.
pause. Pause.
We're pausing.
All right. Number one,
That's a little
OP.
sus.
Don't let anybody abuse you. Okay? Just because somebody's angry and frustrated at you does not give them the right to try to publicly humiliate you, to unload their anger and frustration at you instead of express themselves in an adult and like concise. I get it. We've all been there. We've been hot-headed. We've had our emotions
Oh,
get away from
absolutely.
us. Sometimes you say things you don't mean, but this sounds like they've been married for 2 years, and this is something that has happened multiple times. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna just say let's continue.
let's continue. Um, Recently, she's been coming to my workplace to berate me over something I did the night before, like not getting the stuff I said I would get or doing the stuff I said I would do. It's embarrassing and humiliating. I think he meant to say agitating there. I can't really, I don't know. Anyways, and has
Yeah.
been affecting my job to the point where I started getting a warning after, or I started getting warning after warning from my superiors, who I believe have been very patient and understanding, especially when my wife makes a fuss at the office.
Bitch, get a
Last week,
security.
last week I was in the middle of a 2-hour meeting, and the next thing I knew was seeing my wife barge in while yelling at me, asking why I was keeping my phone turned off. I had to turn it off after getting warnings about it. Um, since she forbid me from turning it off. uh, where I'm gonna save my thoughts for the end.
Okay.
Um, I was stunned because my superior and coworkers and potential clients were there. Um, I didn't even move. My superior dealt with it and called security to get her out. My wife started arguing with him, telling him she came for me, then started urging me to get off my seat and tell them to back off. But I didn't. I just watched as security escorted her out. It was horrible because I had to fear that my job was lost. She yelled at me repeatedly to get them to stop, but eventually she got kicked out. I got told she's no longer allowed there and that this was going to be my final last warning. I apologized, then went home. She was there waiting, then yelled about me watching and doing nothing while she was getting mistreated and kicked out. I finally snapped and said she was over the line, made a scene that risked my job over a few missed calls. She started crying, saying I still should have defended her after getting humiliated in front of my coworkers, but told her she didn't have to worry about it because she's no longer allowed there. She got more furious and went to her mom's to stay there.
Okay. Call a locksmith and change your locks. Go to the court. File for divorce. This bitch is fucking crazy. And I don't say that lightly because I honestly I have been in a situation where I was frustrated that I wasn't being defended by my partner, but I didn't infringe on my partner's job. I didn't obsessively call them. She's got control issues. She's probably cheating on him or something. And she has to know where he is at all times of the day and night and have complete control over his life so that she can get away with whatever she's doing.
Also, he added another comment,
Oh,
and um because there is a comment that said, your wife isn't a hothead, she's abusive. She's going to violate that ban and get you fired. You need to get out. These things only escalate. And he said, honestly, if it was another company with different administration, I would have definitely lost my job because of her. If
okay.
I am going
This
to
is
say my thoughts.
okay. Say them. Let it out. Queen.
Um, the first red flag is always trying to start arguments in public. Me personally, I don't understand how people can fight and put their business and energy out in public like that for other people to not only absorb but also just see, because when you fight, you're opening up your private life in public. And like there are some things that should stay behind closed doors. um
I mean,
I
I'll
am also very
bicker.
hot-headed. Yeah, I'm also
And
very hot-headed. I've said a lot of things out of anger that I don't, in my right state of mind, I don't mean. And I think I've definitely been the bad guy. Not I think. I know I've definitely been the bad guy in my relationship by saying things like that out of anger. And I don't do it as much because I've learned that it's better to hold my tongue until I can properly discuss how I'm feeling and not get emotional about it. Because when I'm emotional, I don't even make sense to myself. And it's
sometimes,
not me
sometimes
being a
when we
woman.
right, sometimes when anybody
Yeah.
feels big emotions, they have a hard time articulating those emotions to another person. So
Hmm.
it's like you can feel something but not know how to talk about how you're feeling and not know how to explain how you're feeling that way, why you're feeling that way, and, you know, come to a solution. Because, especially with these couple posts, it should
Hmm.
always be you should be on the same team. It shouldn't be a versus. You
Yes.
shouldn't be a boxing match. You should be on the same team working together to solve the problem. Or I do think it's a little bit inconsiderate to not do things that you've said you're going to do. To,
Yes.
you know, if you're going to use somebody's car, it's only proper etiquette to fill it up with gas. I will be annoyed. Hey, I've asked you to do this a number of times and you're not doing it. Why don't we talk about why you're not doing it? Do you not like doing it? I mean, it's a chore. Nobody likes to do them. But if we can,
Yeah, like, do you forget? Do you want me to send you a text before you come home and
like,
just remind you? Because I can do that.
what
Like,
can I do to help you help our situation? Because I'm dissatisfied with it and I need to see a change. I need to know how I can help you make that change.
mhm.
Sorry. And this way of communicating isn't working. she's she's not
She's
communicating.
abusive.
Yeah, she's abusing her husband.
And I think the thing that got me was in the last paragraph. She basically was saying, you sat there and watched as they humiliated me. What do you think you've been doing to your husband? You've been humiliating him the entire time, but nobody. Here's where I, after, okay, let me articulate my thoughts real quick.
You're good.
I I have been the victim of abusive and neglectful relationships. Um and I am very much an advocate of, regardless of gender or lack of gender, there in an abusive relationship, there are only two sides. There is no third side. There is no, there's only two. In a lot of disagreements, I can agree that there are third sides. But if it's clear abuse like it is here, where she's actively going out of her way to humiliate him like this because he's a man and he can take it, but, she's bitching and whining that she got thrown out because of her own attitude and how she handled the situation, then A, he shouldn't be married to her. I agree on that. B, if by some ungodly reason he still wants to make this work, because I know when men and women are in abusive relationships, they want to make it work, because it's a lot of, well, they weren't always like this. And if he's still, this was like a couple months ago, but if he's still stuck in that mindset, then they both need to sit down for therapy and figure out what's going on.
I
Because,
honestly, I think that couples therapy would be good, but she genuinely needs some anger counseling because
oh, absolutely, solo.
this is outrageous. It's outrageous control. It's outrageous that she uses this tactic of starting arguments in public to
Keep
have an upper
control over him.
yeah, to have an upper hand in the situation to ultimately get what she wants. Not only that, but she I think that you said she forbids him from turning his phone off.
Yeah, that's another big red flag. And that was also another thing for me where I was like, what the fuck? Um, I couldn't even imagine,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, no, cuz listen, I'm
Listening.
not going to get political here, but ain't nobody going to be telling me what to do with myself. My cell phone, my body, my uterus. Nobody is going to tell me
Nobody.
that I can or can't do anything with my shit. As long as it's not hurting me or anybody around me, it shouldn't be a problem. And if I want to keep my goddamn cell phone off, I'm going to keep my goddamn cell phone off, especially during an important meeting at my job, my work, my livelihood. Now,
You know, the thing that pays our bills and keeps a roof over our head. Like,
and
what?
puts food in our bed. Like, I don't know if she works, but who has time to be this this much of an aggressive like stalker? That's pretty much how she's acting. She's acting like a
Yeah.
stalker who's like showing up at his job, and it's just they obviously live together, but like,
Well, yeah. I would imagine being married for 2 years, like they would be living together. Um,
and he
it
says
doesn't
he
sound like she works or
right.
she has probably like a side hustle or whatever. I don't know, and I frankly don't really care. Because if she has enough time to work herself up and do this same sick play over and over again over the littlest shit that could be talked about when he came home, then like obviously she doesn't provide much.
Does she even feel bad for when she like yells at him? Does she show any ounce of
Doesn't say it.
remorse at any point? All it is me, 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 me. It's all about me, my wants. Do what I say, be where I want you to be, and fuck everything else. Fuck the consequences because I want you to answer your phone. I'm going to show up to your job and make it impossible for you to ignore me.
Yep.
God. Like I said, get security on the bitch.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like while she's gone, I would get in contact with my lawyer and serve up divorce papers. A lot
Absolutely.
of these have been me just being like divorce. Like
Divorce. Done. Get out of here.
divorce.
Well, that's because we
Um
stand healthy relationships, and when people
yeah,
post about their
aren't
relationships
healthy.
and they're not healthy, it's just like, then get out. But it's hard. It's hard to get out.
Yeah.
However, I think people will endure so much until they
Mhm.
break, you know? And
Yeah.
sometimes there are people in those people in their lives that will enable it and encourage it, and you really just have to decide for yourself enough is enough, and you're not gonna subject yourself to that kind of abuse anymore because you're your own advocate there. Like, ain't
Yeah.
nobody gonna break up with them for you.
No. Yeah. I mean, that's how it was with the first abusive relationship I was in. It was, aside from the relationship I'm in now, it was my longest at that given point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being so conflicted, and I felt trapped. Like I knew that my mental health had tanked. My depression had never been worse. It never really got better, I'll be real.
Yeah.
But it didn't start getting better until after. Um, but like it was, I knew this wasn't healthy, and I kind of did what he did, but I didn't post it on Reddit. I just explained the situation to strangers, frankly, because it was a lot of people I met online and that I knew kind of well, and that I felt comfortable enough in telling the story. And I remember I had gotten the exact same answer from probably about 5 to 9 different people who never interacted with each other. And I knew at that point what I had to do. I had to leave
And
because
sometimes the outside perspective will help in like
it helps
situations, which
open your
is
eyes.
because then you have a lot of people saying the same thing, acknowledging that in somewhere in your heart or somewhere in your mind, you have to know that something's wrong
What's right and
because
what's wrong. Yeah.
you wouldn't have posted it if you didn't think something was up. Because
Hmm.
if
That's another thing I was gonna say.
yeah, if you didn't seek help and you didn't think that there was an issue, then ignorance
This
is
post wouldn't
bliss.
be a thing. Yeah.
Right. But, in the same vein, something's wrong, so you want to make sure you're not just and you don't want to feel like you're being gaslit to the point where you're making it up in your head.
Yeah.
So, man,
That's insane.
and it happens. Men and women and any human
Any
being
person, yeah.
is capable of being abusive.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. And even I believe that there is certain types. I believe that there's two different types. I believe that there is conscious and subconscious abuse. And conscious is obviously you're very aware that you're doing it. You're in the waking, you know exactly what you're doing and, whatever. Subconscious is to explain, like, it's definitely a lot more environmental. You don't realize what you're doing is abusive because that's all you've been exposed to, and
Which is
you've
kind of
never.
sad because that makes you a
It
victim.
is. It is. A lot of victims become abusers. And I know, out of being in an abusive relationship to a neglectful relationship, which is still technically abuse,
Mm-hmm.
um, coming into the relationship that I am in now, I was not to where the best of me could shine because I was still coming out of it. I still had a lot of scars. I still do. And I still work through them every day. Like, it's not something you can just get over in a matter of years. It's going to stick with you for the rest of your life because
Yeah.
it impacts you so traumatically. And even when you don't realize it. And there was definitely a lot of sit downs with both of my partners, and but like I think that's another thing that a lot of people, I'm not explaining this to justify the wife by any means. I'm just explaining to explain. Because the wife's a bitch, frankly.
Yeah,
The wife
that's
needs to get socked, but that's my opinion.
she gots to go.
She gotta go. Um, Divorce, but
Divorce.
with with subconscious abusers, it's hard, and it's definitely a process. And you know what? I understand that not everybody is patient in dealing with that and helping that person get help to not be that way. Um, I don't know really where I would be without both of my partners being extremely patient with me and, telling me that these things aren't okay and they aren't okay for me to think or to do. And what can we do to help me break out of that mindset?
Right.
Like,
Because
for an example,
it's tough.
yeah. For prime example, something I do a lot is I ghost when I'm upset. If I don't feel like talking to somebody, I ghost them. A lot of times it happens accidentally, but like you can kind of tell when I ghost you if I'm upset versus if I forget to respond. Um, and it happens a lot in relationships where somebody will say something and I will just completely ignore them. Because in my mind, how I was treated is if I said something that my past partners didn't like, then I was essentially forgotten about until they wanted to remember me again.
Right.
So I adapted that mindset and was like, if people can do this to me, then how about I start doing this to people? But that's not okay.
Right.
It's not okay that it happened, and it's not okay to do to other people. And it definitely took some time to talk about it and realize that that's not okay. And if I didn't like feeling like that, then they don't like feeling like that.
Right.
And I have to keep that in mind when I'm upset. And, it's okay to not vocalize immediately what's upsetting. I know that there's been times where I've been really upset and I've been crying, and, they're like, well, what's wrong? What can I do? And I said, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong right now. And it's just the waiting game until I can get words again or they can get words again. Like, it's a lot of patience dealing with subconscious abuse.
Yeah. And I think that it's a a really great thing to have a partner that can recognize that this is something that's not healthy and want to help you be a better person.
Yes.
So like some people will be like, it's too much work, I'm out, peace. And
Yeah,
that's
you're
kind
being
of,
abusive. I'm leaving.
yeah, I mean, honestly, they're well within their right to do that.
Yes.
But, kudos to the folks who are like, I love you, and we're going to work on this together because we're a team, and I know that we can break some of these bad habits, and we're going to just. What do you. This is what I need from you. Tell me what you need from me. Because we
Yes.
want to make sure everybody's needs are met.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I mean, end of the day, that's pretty much all you can really ask for is just to make sure that your food, water, emotional support, a roof over your head, entertainment, happiness. It's tough. Sometimes
That
you need
whole
some.
stupid pyramid that we learned forever ago. I know exactly what the one you're talking about is.
Yeah, so it's just like, yes, I have needs, but I also have like emotional needs. And just because you're here doesn't mean you're meeting those needs. So we're going to have to talk it out. And that means communicate. And that means we have to learn how to do that because even though we might both be speaking English, sometimes you just ain't speaking my language.
Exactly. Or a lot of what I'll say is you're hearing me but you're not listening to me.
Right.
And you also have to be not comfortable, but you have to acknowledge that the conversation isn't going to be enjoyable.
Yeah,
Like,
no, it's going to suck. And you know what? That's part of.
yeah. And you have to get through it.
Yep.
There have been many conversations that I did not enjoy having, both when I was the one at fault and when I wasn't, because I don't like expressing my emotions because
Right.
that's what I learned. But we're working through it. And if you, I want to say this as a PSA because it was so hard for me to learn that if you can't express your emotions and your partner isn't receptive enough to understand that, then you should probably start looking to leave.
Right. And that's kind of one of the scariest things, too, because
Hmm.
a lot of people get very comfortable. Even if they're like, well, I can put up with it because I don't want to start over.
Dangerous.
Yeah. Or, you know, when someone doesn't feel like they're being appreciated enough and they can't voice that concern in a healthy way where it just builds and builds and builds and builds over time, and suddenly you have this exploding situation, the other person might feel blindsided, but in reality, person A didn't express their feelings and person B didn't know. Honestly, people just, again, you just have to try to say things so that the other people. I've tried. Okay, therapy me is coming out. So
yeah,
when I'm, especially with my mom, I'm like, can you please tell me what you think I'm feeling? And then they tell me, and I'm like, okay, you're in the right ball. You know, you're in the ballpark, but you're playing a totally different sport. All right. So like, this might be football, but it's soccer. Okay. So that gives you an opening to be like, thank you for telling me how you are perceiving me to feel. I'm gonna correct you a little bit because I'm gonna express how I actually feel in a way I feel that you can understand. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if it's like, if you're somebody like me who has had, you know, feelings shut down due to other people not wanting to deal with them in, you know, a very polite way to say it.
Right.
And you're sitting there trying to express how you feel, and your partner isn't even just sitting there waiting, then you need to be comfortable with the idea of being alone, because that partner will never wait for you.
No.
They will never help you progress. And that's something I learned the hard way.
That's tough. But like, you learned it.
Yeah.
End of the day, you learned it.
Yes.
And all we can ask is that there be some knowledge that come through once in a while, you know?
Yeah.
And now you're super duper happy. So, like, again, as long as everybody's needs are met, people are talking, we're doing good. We're just gonna keep on trying.
We gonna keep on trying.
Hell yeah.
Keep on moving.
Yeah. Do you know we've been talking for over an hour?
Oh my god. That's not surprising because you and I talk a lot anyway.
Yeah. So
But
I guess, do you want to just sign off here for now?
yes, I think this is a good place to sign off. Fuck the wife.
Yeah, fuck
To
that wife.
reroute.
Honestly,
Yeah,
go to
fuck
anger
the wife.
management.
Go to anger management if you want to make it work. If
Don't
not,
get her pregnant.
oh god, no.
Do not make that woman a mother of your child.
She does not deserve to be a mom at all.
No, she could be a bad one. Personally, I personally believe she'd be a bad mom.
Yeah.
But, like I said.
Alright.
We'll sign off there. I'll stop recording. Everybody have a great night, and we'll see you in episode 2.
Alright, see ya.
Bye!
Bye! Alright, hold on, give me one.